Is my screen visible?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So before I begin with my presentation, let me briefly talk about my company. We are part of Nomura Consulting, which is a management consulting company. And we started in India in 2011 with 5 people, and now we are having 150 plus consultants. I'm part of Automotive Industry Consulting Group and have been associated with projects related to electrification in India since the beginning of 2012. Uh, what mainly I'm going to talk about is the technicalities of PLI scheme. Before we move to the technicalities of the PLI scheme, I think it's very important to understand the demand projections and the kind of different cell chemistries which are going to be in India, the trend which we have been seeing. Then there are a lot of global battery price projections which may or may not be applicable for Indian market, given the demand constraints. So I'll talk about the battery projections which we have done. And then I'll move to the overview of PLI scheme, and we'll talk about some of the costing principles which scheme might follow. Then in the end, we have done a very preliminary ROI forecast for a 5 gigawatt hour plant by given the incentives from the PLI scheme. So I'll briefly talk about that as well. So let me begin with the presentation, begin with the EV sales in India. So if you look at the numbers, so on this slide, you can see across the vehicle segments, which starts from two-wheeler to e-rickshaws with lead-acid batteries, lithium-ion batteries, then we move to electric autos, four-wheelers, and the buses segment. So here, if we look at the numbers on financial year 20, 152,000 electric two-wheelers were sold. And it is expected to be around 3 million per year sales by 2025. E-rickshaws with lead-acid batteries, 223,000 in financial year 2025. E-rickshaws, there are certain part of e-rickshaws which are lithium-ion battery based also, and we expect that there is going to be a trend wherein more and more e-rickshaws are going to be with the lithium-ion batteries. Because of the traditional players are joining the race with entering into e-rickshaws. Obviously, their focus is on the e-auto segment, which was sold 1,487 units in financial year 20. And we expect that around 27,000 units are going to be sold around 2025. Four-wheeler segment, a lot of focus since the beginning of FAME 1 has been put on the four-wheelers. There were strategy changes from the government of India, from the personal mobility to public mobility as well, incentivizing more and more taxi segments. But I think introduction of new vehicles which are lithium-ion battery based and with higher battery capacity, around 30 kilowatt hour, is kind of improving the sales of four-wheelers as well. So by 2025, we expect to see around 80,000 vehicles coming out to be on the road, which is around 5,000, which is around 5% of the, which is around 2% to 2 to 3% of the total market in 2025 for the four-wheelers. And in buses segment, it's around 500, 600 vehicles being sold now, and which is expected to be around 5,000 in 2025. I already talked about the trends in different vehicle segments. So it's currently driven by two-wheeler and three-wheeler segment. Electric autos and four-wheeler are going to be the future growth drivers of electrification in India. Moving on next page. So previous page was about total number of vehicles sold across the vehicle segment. On this page, what I'm talking is about the vehicles which have the lithium-ion batteries. So around 80% in financial year 2020 was sold with lithium-ion batteries, 20% with the lead-acid batteries. And we don't have e-rickshaw with lead-acid batteries here. Electric autos, purely lithium-ion battery, obviously four-wheelers and buses as well. So I think there were a lot of questions also during the excellent presentations earlier made by different panel members, different speakers today. So as per our estimations, currently the battery demand, the lithium-ion battery demand in India in financial year 2020, which is estimated based on the numbers which I showed on the previous pages, is about 0.5 gigawatt hour. and it is expected to be around 11 gigawatt hour in most, you can say, the conservative or the realistic scenario by 2025. Now, if I talk about what kind of battery chemistry, which is important to understand, because if companies are planning to make investment decisions, and they obviously need to think about the long-term investment decisions, they need to understand what kind of battery chemistry trend is coming up. So it all started with LFP chemistry, but with low voltage systems, but slowly and gradually it is moving towards the NMC chemistry, which is the current trend. So around 61% of the batteries which are going into the different vehicle segment in financial year 20 was NMC, and 38% was the LFP chemistry. By 2025, we expect 71% coming out from the NMC chemistry and 29% from the LFP chemistry. Here is the example of share of electric vehicle segments for NMC chemistry. So it's split across the vehicle segment across the years for the NMC chemistry. So here, if you look at the numbers, so 65% is from the electric two-wheelers, and the 25% from buses, and 8.7% from the passenger vehicle car segment. Now, because we expect in passenger vehicle, the kind of vehicles which are going to be in the market are going to be driven by a higher battery capacities. So currently it's around 15 to 20 kilowatt hour. There are vehicles with 30 and 40 kilowatt hour as well. But going forward, we will see the high voltage systems with higher battery capacity. So you will see that four-wheelers are capturing the majority part of the NMC chemistry growth in India. Moving on next page. So these are some of the market data points which we have estimated in realistic situation. I just talked about. Now I'll move on the battery price projections. In battery price projections, so earlier speakers also talked about that the estimated numbers are going to be very low. Like if you look at the Bloomberg number, which talks about $87 price USD per kilowatt hour price by 2025 and $62 by 2030. This might be relevant if you are going for a very high procurement of batteries in terms of the capacity. And but I think for Indian condition, situation is slightly different as of now. And even if we are talking about several policy interventions by government, the demand is not going to be skyrocketed within few years. So we have to think about the realistic projections for India market as well, which we have done here on page number 7. This is our own estimation. So if you look at the numbers, so in 2020, the NMC chemistry was around $250 per kilowatt hour. At the same time, LFP chemistry was $240 per kilowatt hour. By 2025, we expect in India, it is going to be around $187 and $176 per kilowatt hour for NMC and LFP chemistry, which eventually will be $126 for both the chemistries. Now I will move on the overview of PLI scheme. Once we understand the demand projection and the battery price projections, let us now talk about the PLI scheme. So there have been 3 key policy measures which Government of India has been taking. Obviously, other states are also coming up with several incentive schemes. One is about the FAME scheme, wherein we are giving demand incentives to create the demand, which we again call as a market creation. Then second was the PMP, phase manufacturing program, where the duties were very less on the components, and now it is increased even from 0% to 15% in some of the cases. Third, which was missing. So with the FAME and PMP program, you can develop the assembly level capability without going further checking the tier 2 and tier 3 level localization levels, which is not the focus of the previous two policies which I talked about, and it is very difficult to kind of monitor also given the constraints of the different departments which are leading this initiative. So the PLI scheme talks about the localization of 60% localization of the 45 to 50% of the cost, which is the battery.
Pritesh, your slides are not moving. We are still on the. Yes.
Yeah,
Now we can see.
right. Yeah, so yeah, I was not actually changing that. So now if I talk about the current status of the battery manufacturing, I think it is known to everyone that now we are doing the pack manufacturing. When we say pack manufacturing, it's pack assembly only, not even the pack manufacturing. And in future, we talk about the manufacturing these cells also in India. That is the direction which the government and the private players are taking. So if I talk about the battery supplier landscape currently, there are new players, there are well-established players from the lead acid batteries. There are global players which are planning, and some of them are into the proof of concept. Some of them are already supplying the batteries, but they all are doing the just pack assembly, not even the pack manufacturing. So that is why there is a need for the production linked incentive, wherein companies basically say that it's the demand is not very clear what is going to be by 2025 or 2030, and also lack of technology and heavy investment. So it's a good idea to incentivize at least the capex, some part of the capex, and see the response from the industry, how it picks up. So this is a bit of detailing about the PLI scheme. So there is a 1.5 lakh crore to boost the local manufacturing. PLI incentives are planned, out of which 57,000 crores is allocated to the automobiles and auto component industry, and another 18,100 crore is given to the advanced battery manufacturing. Now, for the battery makers, cash subsidies will be provided mainly depending on two conditions. One is local value addition. Second is scale of production. Here, I would like to make a very important point that any company planning in anything of any part of the value chain in the electrification journey has to be think about the localization. In India, if electrification is going to happen, it will happen with localization. Otherwise, the pace is going to be slower. Because that is the focus one of the focus area which manages the energy security issue, which is one of the top agenda for the central government as well as some of the state governments. So it has to be ensured that high level of localization is achieved. Otherwise, it is better to dependent on Middle East on oil than depending on batteries on certain countries. So let me briefly talk about some of the basic points about the philosophy, basically, which I already talked about. The vision is emphasis on transition to the clean energy. There has been a mission mission of transformative mobility and battery storage in March 2019. As part of the mission, now the 50 gigawatt hour of domestic advanced chemistry cell manufacturing is being planned. Let me briefly talk about the budget, chemistry shape, testing, disbursement, and evaluation, how it is being planned. So out of announced 150,000 crore, more than 50% of incentives are aligned to the xEV manufacturing. Chemistry and shape. So energy density and life cycle are the key parameters on which the judgment is going to be there. And there are no criteria has been put on the battery shape. Testing and disbursement. So PLI scheme has documented by NITI Aayog, and disbursement will be done by the Department of Heavy Industry. Claim for performance is done by the manufacturer itself. So authorities are going to rely a lot on the manufacturers, which is the case for other policies as well. In terms of evaluation, there will be a technical bid and financial bid, and they are followed once the manufacturing company meets the qualification criteria in terms of credit rating and net worth. Moving on next page. So here I would like to make 2 points. 50 gigawatt hour is the capacity being planned in India. And to achieve the scale of economies, 20 gigawatt hour has been put as the single beneficiary limit for cell manufacturing facility, so that we can have probably 220 gigawatt hour facilities, and maybe 1 or 2 smaller facilities. And 5 gigawatt hour is the capacity restriction for minimum bid to encourage the economies of scale. Now, there, as I earlier talked about, that there is going to be technical bid and financial bid. And the technical bid is going to be mainly focusing on the weightage on the phasing of the value addition, which I already mentioned that the focus is going to be on the local value addition, and 30% weightage is going to be on the scale of production, and the 20% weightage is going to be the financial part of it. And subsidies will depend on the cycle life and energy density. The higher you go for cycle life and energy density, higher you can get the incentives. Here, I'll skip this page by mentioning only one point, that all form of chemistry is allowed in the program. It's technology agnostics, as Deva Ashish also pointed out, but we have to see the trend which industry is taking up, the way it is shaping up, so which is mainly coming out to be NMC and LFP chemistry. Now, because a lot of focus is on achieving the 60% criteria, and some of the speakers, I think Devashish only talked about how simple it is to achieve the 60% criteria, which has been one of the major concerns from different industry players. So there has been four key principles on which this is being decided. So one, it has to be change in 6-digit code. So there should be changes in HSN code at the 6th level, so that it can be ensured that the new product is emerging. It's not like taking from some entity and just supplying it to the some entity and not doing the real level of localization, just doing the assembly. It avoids that. It ensures that some level of localization definitely is happening in India. Then second is the final process of manufacture must be performed in India. It has to be distinct name. It has to be a product with distinct name, character, and use. Third principle is minimum 60% value addition within 5 years, and the disbursement is going to begin when you achieve the 25% at the mother unit level. Then we have fourth principle, which is value addition, which is equal to actual value added divided by the sale value of the goods. And the actual value can be calculated by on the basis of financial records as per the formula which is given here, which is sales value less cost of raw materials and packing materials consumed, less cost of material whose source of origin cannot be ascertained, less cost of fuel consumed if eligible for GST input credit, less expense incurred in foreign currency for royalty or technological know-how as debited in the income statement, then add actual value added by the ancillary units. So after talking about some of the target of the PLI scheme, let me briefly talk about the status of critical components in India. So battery, if you look at the batteries, which is like only 20% of the cost is localized. This is the result of one of the very detailed study which recently conducted and listed down all the key components which are there in the FAME document and their net localization in India. So for batteries, it's only 20 to 25%. Now to achieve the 60%, this is the I think Niti Aayog's idea, the data. This is not the data which we are giving. So it is believed that up to the separator manufacturing, if you achieve, so you capture the value, you do the value chain capture, then pack manufacturing, cell manufacturing, electrolyte manufacturing, and separator manufacturing, you will achieve over 60%. One of the questions were posted on the chat boxes that how India is going to ensure the localization of materials. Definitely, India doesn't have the material available in India, so we'll have to depend on imports. To offset the imports, there are talks, I think efforts also being made to go and make the investments in minings outside or to have the government-to-government collaboration. And some of the questions were also about, is there any plan of putting out the benefits for the components of batteries also? So you can see the list here from 1A, 1B, 1C to point number 5. There are certain goods already defined which is into the draft stage only, not into the final. I think once the RFP, PLI RFP is issued, we'll get more clarity. So on the different time frame basis, for example, by 2025, the batteries or battery packs of advanced chemistry cell, including batteries of electric vehicle, can be increased from 5% to 15%. So there are goods listed here and there are duties. So obviously, initially the duties are going to be less. Then we expect to see higher duties going forward. Moving on, next I'll briefly talk about ROI forecast for a 5 gigawatt plant given incentives. So what we have done is here, we have calculated ROI for a 5 gigawatt hour plant, and which is equal to the revenue minus expenditure. When I talk about the revenue, it's production capacity and the price of battery. And in terms of expenditure, it's capex plus opex minus incentives. So in capex, we have land and building, which is 5% of the total cost, plant and machinery, which is the highest cost contributor, around more than 80%. Here it's taken as 82%. Pre-operational expenses 7%, and capital interest, which is 6%. Then in OPEX, we have majority of the cost coming from raw material cost. Then we have additional costs such as labor cost, operational cost, depreciation, selling, general, and administrative. If you look at the global trends and the companies which have set up the gigafactories, here you can see the cost. So I'll take the example of Nissan. They have spent around $200,000 per gigawatt hour. $200 million per gigawatt hour, and there are numbers, different numbers for different companies. For our analysis purpose, we have benchmarked the Nissan. So if you take the average of different companies, that also comes around to be 200. So we have here benchmarked the Nissan case, and so hence cost of building a 5 gigawatt plant at 200, it's a typo, apologies for that, is around 1,000 million, which is without subsidy. Now, in terms of the operational cost, the operational expenditure, this is mainly about the materials, which is 66%. We have included some of the possible variability of the material prices, etc., as well in the modeling exercise. And here is the result. So if you look at the 5 gigawatt hour plant, so in terms of revenue, which can be generated, is $960 million per annum. And in terms of expenditure, which is $1,000 million, the capex, then OPEX is $325 million. Then you have some benefit of subsidies. So after doing the calculations, the important point here is to talk about the battery price projection. So if we refer the battery prices, which are available, very aggressive numbers, then it is going to be a very huge loss-making business. But as we are expecting 11 gigawatt hour by 2025, so the battery price projections of market, which is our estimate, is starting from $210 to $176 by 2025. So with incentives, even if we just take 20% of the capital expenditure, is coming out to be a profitable business within 5 years, which is around 50% return on investment. So these are the authors. Thank you, Shravan and Jivesh, for extensive contribution in making this. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.